Bula, I'm DJ Toro. Join me every Monday to Thursday, 7 until midnight. The premium classics on Gold FM, only the classic hits.
Tonight, AG slams unionists for what he says is a personal attack against the sugar industry. Prime Minister tells heads of missions what's expected of them. And FEA announces major profit. Good evening, I'm Jackie Spade and you're watching FBC News. The Fiji Sugar and General Workers Union is proceeding with the secret ballot to determine industrial action despite an earlier 5.3% pay rise for sugar mill workers. Attorney General Said Qayyum has slammed this latest work of the union, stating that it's a shameless attempt to damage the sugar industry. And as Christopher Chand reports, crushing would be adversely affected if they decide to go on strike.
Last week, the Fiji Sugar Corporation proudly announced an increase in their wages. The union swiftly responded, saying they would go ahead with a secret ballot despite this raise. The AG says Felix Anthony is putting his personal interest ahead of the well-being of the workers.
The head of this union is now, firstly, goes offshore to get publicity offshore and misrepresent the situation in Fiji, and then try and have a ballot to see whether they want to go on strike or not.
Felix Anthony has stated that he won't respond to personal attacks made against him. According to Anthony, the 5.3% increase is equivalent to an additional $8.35 a week and is below the poverty level.
5.3% pay rise is obviously something that FSC at the moment can afford. And as the FSC management has made it clear to all the workers that they're engaging with, that they obviously want to increase the salaries even more, wages even more. But we need to take a step at a time. Is it better to shut down the mill and let the industry collapse? Or is it better to continue with getting the pay rises to be able to achieve the standards, the wage standards that is required?
A decision to go on strike will cripple the sugar industry, which is in the middle of this year's crushing.
This will affect about 200,000 people in Fiji. It will affect farmers, it will affect cane cutters, it will affect lorry drivers, it will affect the people working in the mills, it will affect ordinary Fijians who are depending on the sugar industry for a living.
While the union is still counting the ballots, hopes are the two parties will be able to settle the wage demand without industrial action. Christopher Chand, FBC News.
The three-day annual examination of Fiji's diplomatic strategies, now underway, may be the most important since Fiji gained independence. Prime Minister Vorenge Bainimarama made the statement while opening a three-day consultation in Suva today involving Fiji's heads of missions. Apisalome Doka reports.
Fiji is in the midst of an unprecedented expansion of international relations. Prime Minister Vorenge Bainimarama says it is important to ensure that Fiji is meeting its international commitments, delivering tangible results to the Fijian people and best representing Fiji's interest amongst the community of nations.
Just 5 years ago, Fiji still only had 11 missions abroad. Today, there are 17. This number will continue to grow as we strengthen and develop new relationships with non-traditional partners and friends.
Bainimarama says the significant expansion of Fijian diplomacy in the past 5 years stands testament to its growing influence and diverse interest in a dynamic and evolving global landscape.
We don't see ourselves as beholden to anyone. We will act in our own interest, not in the interest of those who attempt to impose their will on us. The days of us being dictators to by outsiders are over.
The Prime Minister this morning signaled to his heads of missions what he would expect during the three-day meeting.
So now I would like to pose the question to every one of you. How are your missions contributing to the greater movement of reform? development and progress in Fiji now? What are the tangible results you are delivering to the Fijian people?
The Prime Minister says answering these questions is what this week's consultation is about. More importantly, he says answering these questions is their responsibility to the Fijian people. Apisalome Doka, FBC News.
The Fiji Electricity Authority has made a profit of $75.3 million for the year 2012. FEA Chairman Nizamuddin says last year was a challenging year for the authority, having been tested by 2 major floods. He says despite this, Fiji is the only country in the region with the lowest tariff rate, and they are hoping to continue with this rate.
The real profit will be just a little bit over 60 million in terms of profit without the carry tax over. We had good rainfall last year, as I think most of you are aware. Some of it was too much maybe, but nonetheless, our dams did get full and we were able to record greater usage of our hydro than we would have done otherwise.
Minister for Trade Ayaside Qayyum says despite the good news, people must continue to do their bit to save energy. The unavailability of vessels is the main cause of shipping problems in Fiji's maritime zone. This has been the biggest challenge to the shipping franchise scheme. Epeli Tokuasa reports there are only 3 vessels active at this time.
Fiji's franchise scheme was put in place by government to deal with shipping services to uneconomical routes. But there is a major problem. There isn't enough vessels.
Fiji franchise scheme, from the view of the ministry, it has been challenged with the availability of MSF-approved vessels that needs to go out into the outer islands.
Government is trying its best to expand the service, and franchise routes have been put up for tender.
We've been pushed to move these services out as much as possible for every month.
Due to the high cost involved, those using the service also have an important role to play in the success of Fiji's franchise scheme.
Efficient transport services is not all of it. It's not the solution. We can also provide. It can be provided, but at the same time, there needs to be a return of cargo.
Government has admitted shipping problems in Fiji cannot be solved overnight. Epeli Tukuasa, FBC News.
Handicraft dealers, taxi drivers and other service providers in Suva have been commended for giving their best service to tourists from visiting cruise ships. As Ritika Pratap reports, there's been a notable change from past experiences of tourists being harassed by sword sellers or being overcharged by local taxi drivers.
About 28 cruise liners have visited Suva in the first 6 months of this year, and many more are expected in the coming months. Special Administrator Chandu Umaria says they've had good feedback thanks to everyone playing their part.
Especially the police is very active, if I can say, that when the cruise liners come in, they are making sure that the tourists are not hassled, they are guided. At the same time, taxi drivers, we are having a lot of consultation with taxi drivers, we are having a lot of consultation with the retailers, with the short sellers, shoeshine boys.
It's not enough for Umaria though. He wants Suva to make an even bigger impact with visitors.
Do marketing of Fiji to other people that tourists can come in here.
With new shopping complexes, Suva can market itself as a shopping destination, and beautifying the city can add to that direction.
Like the Nambuklau Creek is one, the Terry-Walk. The next one we'll be doing is the Harbour Centre frontage, which is council property. And the next one, like I said, one is as soon as the sewer market, this development goes up, the fish market will be relocated. So in other words, people coming from the wharf, they will have a lot of beautiful gardens and walkways where the fish market is, then Tapu City, then you come to the Terry Walk and the Harbour Centre.
A total of 60 cruise ships with thousands of tourists are expected in Suva by the end of 2013. Ritika Pratap, FBC News.
In the news ahead, FBC inks deal with Agriculture Ministry for Agriculture Show.
How would you like to spend your morning? You could spend your morning like this. Or you could spend it like this.
Tune in to the Morning Ride every weekday morning from 9 a.m. till 12 p.m. right here on Today FM, Today's Seed Music.
Nimbula, methangu nimilote na isoro tambua. Nama kia umenarua kina ona na via kavi moniti kina wakarambuka. Rongo mena via sana kina viva ka marota kini ndreko malolo. Ena Radio Fiji 1 na wongani via niano. Ngai nama kia kina.
Welcome back. You're watching FBC News. Despite the fact they couldn't afford the registration fees, the proposed Green Party says it's not deterred and will contest the elections. Roland Karoy has more.
Bernadette Rounds Nganilau, former parliamentarian, former media guru, now the chair of the proposed Green Party of Fiji. The party was deregistered because it could not meet the deadline.
It costs a lot of money to register. It also costs a lot of money to state your assets. And we really can't receive donations up to a certain amount from individuals, organizations or the corporate sector.
Rounds Nganilau says the Greens didn't attempt to comply with the political party's registration decree because it was impossible for a party their size. Despite the challenges, they plan to contest the next elections, and all efforts are being made to ensure this happens.
I've already informed the Supervisor of Elections, or the Office of the Elections, that we would like to re-register as the Green Party, and at present we have got women out in the areas, the 4 sub-regions of Fiji, trying to get signatures.
She goes on to reveal what the proposed Green Party stands for.
Oh, we have our philosophy, of course, and that is ecological wisdom. We're also very, very much into sustainability, and we are very adamant on participatory democracy.
For now, members and office bearers of the proposed party are not being named. Registered political parties have openly criticized the registration process. Bernadette Rounds Nganilau says their focus now is to get their signatures and payments in order to register. Registrar of Political Parties Muhammad Sanim is overseas and could not be reached for a comment. Roland Koroy, FBC News.
New Nadi Special Administrator Robin Ali wants to continue pushing for the town to become the country's next city. Last week, Ali replaced Aisyah Tuinraki, who was dismissed last month. The new administrator served with the Nadi Town Council for 36 years, 19 of them as chief executive before retiring in 2010. Ali was a council member when they were last trying to become a city in 1999.
I believe, I haven't seen it, but I believe that the expansion of the Nadi town boundary is on way. And if that is all completed, then obviously Nadi will get that 20,000 people required to be a city. And then, of course, we will concentrate on that. Yeah.
Ali says he wants to see Nadi grow and will work on improving services for ratepayers. The Fiji Broadcasting Corporation has become a media partner in the 2013 Agriculture Show. A partnership deal was signed with the Agriculture Ministry today.
Today's signing will see an extensive coverage of the 2013 Agriculture Show in Lautoka in September by the Fiji Broadcasting Corporation.
We understand and can absolutely see the importance of it, from the farmers and how it can help us grow Fiji, to the consumers, and then down to the resorts, and as well as the potential for export.
Permanent Secretary for Agriculture Ropati Lingairi described the partnership deal with FBC as very positive.
I cannot overemphasize the importance of media and the role that you play in promoting an event such as this.
Meanwhile, the Agriculture Ministry has received a $10,000 boost towards the event from the China Railway First Group.
The Agriculture Show is destined to become the one-stop shop of all types of farmers, and the show has potential to become the most important agriculture show in the South Pacific.
The Chinese company has purchased land in Navua for agriculture.
The Agriculture Ministry is looking forward to that, because we fully understand and we know that we can learn from the technologies that you will put in place, that you will practice, that the farmers can adopt.
This year's theme is Agriculture is Health and Wealth, targeting every individual in the community. Mikalonga, FBC News.
A new organization with an aim of empowering youth in the community was launched this morning. The Good Samaritan Youth Foundation was launched by Youth Minister Viliamena Poto. Founder Albert Wong says the foundation will focus on issues affecting young people, mainly lack of education, lack of job opportunities, and other social issues. The foundation will also embark on a 3-year strategic pilot project.
We're also looking at third-party victim counseling. We believe that the children are most vulnerable and they usually are the most neglected. So those are the areas that we want to deal with in counseling. We have our economic and capacity building empowerment and also good governance and education that we're looking at.
Around 40 members are part of the foundation. UN Women is now working with stakeholders to try and prevent and eliminate violence against women. The Pacific Regional Facility has funded this initiative, working with its regional partners in Fiji and the Pacific. Vasita Kotewasawasa reports.
According to the Fiji Women's Crisis Center, 50% of women have been emotionally abused by their husbands, while 64% have been physically or sexually abused in their relationships. UN Women is now working with stakeholders to address this issue.
We all know that rates of violence in the Pacific are high, among the highest in the world, I think. And the findings and various studies from Fiji, Solomon Islands, Kiribati and other countries.
Satareki Madanawai of the Pacific Disability Forum says they've identified challenges faced by women here in Fiji who have been subjected to violence due to their disability.
What was found that some of the women with disabilities that were there, and even men disabilities that were there, the issues of violence against women and girls with disabilities are often swept under the carpet.
The Fiji Red Cross, as one of the recipients, will work closely with women and children.
We found during our disaster response that there were issues associated with women because displacement was an issue.
Over $1 million has been authorized by the Pacific Regional Facility Fund for over 40 grants. Vasita Kotewasawasa, FBC News.
We welcome Jamie now with sports, and he comes bearing good news for 3 sporting bodies.
That's right, 3 new playing fields to be developed in Suva, a definite boost for the sporting federations. Details on this after the break, and Naita Siri as a semi-final berth in the Digicel Cup. Stay with us.
Isambolo binaka, na dango wadi soni dalai, na makio mani wasini ngono borota kina lali ne kabi, mai na tolu kina bitu, ena moni tingina por rombuka, ena Mbula FM, na bandu ena serre.
सूरज की पहली किरण के साथ दिन की शुरुआत कीजिए। सुबह का मंगल प्रभात आपको शुभ हो। सुबह सुबह हो खुशियों का मेला, ना लोगों की परवाह ना दुनिया का झमेला, पंछियों का संगीत हो और मौसम अलबेला। मुबारक हो आपको ये खूबसूरत सवेरा। हर सोमवार से लेकर शुक्रवार तक सुबह 6 से लेकर 9 बजे तक शामिल रहें रेडियो फिजी 2 पर हम सफर में रविंद्र सिंह के साथ।
Welcome back to FBC Sports. First up tonight, the Fiji National Rugby League says it will not make a comment on Jason Bukuya. Bukuya has been identified as one of the players within the Cronulla Sharks who is facing a 6-month suspension for taking performance-enhancing drugs. This could mean Bukuya may miss out playing for Fiji at the World Cup in October. The FNRL says they will only make a statement after talking to all parties involved. Naita series looking at cementing a semi-final berth when it takes on Tai Lebu in the Digicel Cup on Saturday. Once the champions on the local rugby scene, the team is currently in a rebuilding stage. As Zinder Singh reports, the Vanua-based team wants to continue with its forward momentum.
Naita series, you've got it. Funaki takes a good one.
Once a powerhouse in rugby, the Naita series side has been on a rebuilding stage this season. However, slowly but surely the team has been working towards achieving its goal for 2013.
Because, you know, the changing of the coach this season, and for me, after 9 years, I coach the Naita series again, and it's very hard for me to settle down. And but we are happy where we are now, but we look forward to win our last game so that we can qualify for the semi-final.
The Highlanders have been boosted by the inclusion of former Flying Fijians first 5'8", Waisia Loveniali, and this is sure to add more spark to the team when it takes on old foes Tailevu this Saturday.
A slight injury after the Botukola games. Nasoni Rocco left the country for the Carlton Sevens in Sri Lanka, and winning ball got a slight injury, and also Waisia able to walk, but they back to training yesterday. Then I can feel experience and a young team in this week's game against Tailevu.
The final round of games in the Digicel Cup will give a clearer picture of who will make the last four. It will be no surprise to see Netasiri in the semi-finals of the Digicel Cup, and that for sure will add more flavour to the playoffs. Interesting, FBC Sports.
The Fiji Football Association has decided to include Nasinu, Lamin Riketi and Tabiuni in the premier grade of the Inc. Mobile Battle of the Giants. Initially, Fiji FA had wanted to include Tabo and Sabu Sabu in the mix, but this has changed.
But we have now resolved that the winners of the senior the premier division in Banua Levu, the runner-up and the winner, and the runner-up and the winner here in Viti Levu will participate in the tournament. There will be the 4 teams. So as it stands now, from Banua Levu it's Draketi and Tabiuni, and from Viti Levu it's Nasinu and Lemi.
20 acres of land is readily available at Vatuanga's Bindi ground. Now being leased by the Super City Council, 3 sporting bodies have snatched up the opportunity to put an end to the lack of proper playing fields. Elena McDonald dug into the situation today.
Come this time next year, some new grounds will be readily available for a certain few.
Almost half the land to the Fiji Football Association, and we have also leased part of the land to the Sua Fiji Cricket Association, and we have got a proposal from the Sua Rugby Union to also give them a lease of that land.
Football was first to take the initiative, with 4 months of groundwork already taking shape.
Initially they had suggested, they had earmarked August as a completion, but I think it will take a little more, because after this is done they will have to do the grass planting and let the grass come, they will mow it and so on. They'll allow about 8 to 10 weeks for the grass growing process.
Then there's cricket, which will start developing once pen has been put to paper.
A ground, or maybe 2 grounds, if we can get the space for 2 grounds. Basically it will be just the groundworks at the beginning, and then put in an office.
Suva Rugby has also been mapped out from the initial plans, with deals still pending. Thanks to the Suva City Council, 3 sports in Fiji will be able to call a ground their very own. And while it may take a while to set up, it's a definite boost in development for each sport. Elena McDonald, FBC Sports.
Definitely good news for the Sporting Federation. That wraps up sports for tonight. It's back to Jackie now for business.
The 4G auction has ended today and exceeded expectations by raising more than $5 million. The government says the door has now opened to the future of 4G service, providing smartphone users super-fast internet connections, including streaming, browsing and video calling. The new 4G technology, together with government's Universal Access Program and local internet exchange, will expand mobile coverage and make the internet more accessible and affordable for the Fijian people. In the bidding process today, Digicel Fiji acquired its last lot. Company CEO Maurice McCarthy says they had spent over $1.9 million in acquiring this lot. The company can now start operating the 4th generation spectrum after documentation.
This is future-proofing our business, showing our commitment to the customers, lining ourselves up with the government's vision of being the leading ICT country in the region. And we're delighted to have secured the spectrum today. And again, I hope it shows to our customers that we will be the leading network provider.
Digicel Fiji has acquired a total of 4 lots. Meanwhile, Telecom Fiji secured 30 megahertz of 4G of the first ever spectrum auction in Fiji. Time for weather, and Jen, we've hit the middle of the week.
Yes, Jackie, it's Wednesday already. What a gorgeous day it was. Typical of a tropical paradise, there were lovely fine conditions right around the country. And as you can see on the map here, Suva has the only cloud today. Now, the sun may have been shining, but apparently that doesn't mean an escape from these colder than usual temperatures. 25 degrees in Suva and Savasavu is today's lowest, while 29 degrees in Lambasa is the highest. Remember, this is the result of cold, dry winds blowing in from the south. Tomorrow sees a return to wet and cloudy weather in the capital and Lambasa, while the west will get to enjoy another day of sunshine. Mariners, south to southeast winds will be a blistering 10 to 15 knots, so do keep warm. Now, our West reporter Chris Chand snapped this picture in Nandi. Thanks, Chris. You're definitely a man of many skills. That was weather. Remember to keep sending those photos in to citizenseyes@fbc.com.fj. Till the next photo, stay safe and stay smiling.
Thanks so much for that, Genevieve. And a quick look at the headlines again. AG slams Felix Anthony for what he says is a personal attack against the sugar industry as the Fiji Sugar and General Workers Union proceeds with a secret ballot to determine industrial action. Prime Minister tells heads of missions what's expected of them, and lack of vessels identified as main problem for Fiji shipping. To the poll question now, when we ask, should Fiji FA combine Tavua soccer with Vatukola? Visit our website www.fbc.com.fj to have your say. Remember to send us newsworthy pictures and videos. Email citizenseyes@fbc.com.fj. You have yourselves a safe evening. Until tomorrow, good night.
आपकी शादी होने वाली है, 5 बच्चे होंगे। 5 हाय, मैं हूँ आपकी सहेली वेणु। सुनते रहिए मिर्ची FM। मैं हूँ ना 9 से 12 बजे तक।